Hello and welcome to the Sub1 YouTube channel, and in this video, part 15 of MyRobotLab, I'm going to look at the AdafruitIna219 Service. So this little board over here is a little breakout board that has at its heart the INA219. That's that little black chip there, and its job in life is to measure the voltage drop across a small resistor, in this case this little one here, or I should say big one compared to all the rest. So the idea behind that is it measures between ground and the positive terminal, the V in plus. So that's this one here, which is also mirrored over here on one of the breakout pins, and the other side, it also measures that voltage to ground, and it does it at a fairly high resolution, so it can give us the number of millivolts being dropped across those two connections. So in this case, I have a 6-volt battery pack, and it's powering through this blue and purple wires down. The blue wire is connected to the common ground of my Arduino Nano here. The purple wire is fed into the V in plus. I then have the V in minus is the power feeding down to this servo on the I wire, which is on the header here. The green wire then goes back to the common 0 volt or ground, and the orange wire goes back to output 3 on my Arduino Nano. And this is a 35 kilo 6-volt servo, so it's ideal for this test purpose. So the way this is wired up, I2C bus from the Arduino Nano is connected to the remainder along with the 5-volt power. So the chip on there is 3 volt to 5.5 volt tolerant. So it covers both the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino default power supply voltages. So I'm going to turn on my meter here. I'll turn on the remote and connect it. And I was hoping that would already be connected already. So if I measure between ground, one of these pins, you can see there we've got 6.43 volts. That's working quite nicely. We can also measure to the other terminal on here, which is 6.43, 6.43. So we're getting no voltage drop across there at the moment because we're not really drawing any power. So let's open up MyRobotLab and load up this service. Okay, so we've got MyRobotLab running. I've already started my Arduino Nano service, and that's connected. The wires are covering it, but there is a little flashing light, which is hard to see in the camera, showing the comms is working. If I go to the Nano service, you can see it's connected and there is a heartbeat. It's quite happy. So let's go to runtime, and we're going to call this service INA, and we're looking for the Adafruit INA219 service. So we start that, go down to INA. Now in this case I'm going to connect it to Nano. Incidentally, this is MyRobotLab 1.1.1168, which was the most up-to-date yesterday afternoon, and today 1.1.1172 is the most up-to-date. So there's been a few updates overnight for me. Because I'm running an Arduino, this will always be bus 0, and the default address for one of these devices, and there are some jumpers we can change them, is 0x40. So while the breakout board only shows 2 jumpers, so you can change the address from the default 40, you can change those two with the shorting links, that would give you a total of about 4 different addresses. By also combining in the use of the SCL and SDA lines, you can get a total of 16 addresses on the I2C bus on one of these devices. Okay, so I'm going to attach that, and here is my first little bug. I have unofficially asked if we can get a bit of an update to this. I mean, when I say unofficially, I just requested in the general chat on the MyRobotLab board. So what we're going to do is go to Python, and I've got this ina.refresh script that I've created. We'll execute that. And if we go back to the INA, we now have a set of voltages. And if you remember the voltage we were reading when I put the multimeter on, between ground and the power, we're getting 6.44 on the multimeter. This is saying 6,412 millivolts. So that's 6.412 volts. Now I'm going to go with it being more accurate than what my multimeter is at that level, because we are talking about, you know, a lot lower voltages. Now what it's saying is it's measuring 0.35 millivolts across that resistor, and this multimeter is not going to read that level. So it's saying that there is 3.5 milliamps being drawn for a power of 442 milliwatts. So when one of these things is sitting here idle, it's not much at all. The problem here we're going to have is these numbers are only updated whenever this Python script is being run. So there's a couple of workarounds we can do with that. We can actually start up the clock service, and I think that's what I might actually do today. The other thing is I haven't created a servo service, so I might just create that as well. So first one, let's do the servo service. So we'll demo servo, and I'm just using a servo. Start the service. Our demo servo in control needs to be connected to something before we can do anything. So we'll connect it to our Nano, and it's on pin 3, and we will attach it. Now if we go to here, okay, so after a bit of a computer crash, I've restarted and I've got us back to where we were. So I have the Arduino Nano back up and running. I have the INA running, and you can see it's now updating fairly regularly. I have a clock service now running set at 500 milliseconds, and I created this little script which has the timestamp. It prints down here update just to confirm it was working, and the clock, I added a listener looking for the pulse event, and then calling the Python service and the update routine, which I've defined here, to call the INA service and update it every half second. So what we've got is, if I now put a load on this servo, you can actually see it increase the amount of power it's drawing. If I set this to sweep, and it's sweeping very slowly. I'll have to talk to Greg about that one. But I was hoping to demonstrate it moving But what we can see is when I do increase the load on the servo, when it's set to go to a set position, it does increase the load on our INA. So this is our power in milliwatts. You can actually feel it trying to move. So when I put a load onto it, you can see it definitely increases in power consumption. That's what this device is supposed to do. So let's go to the MyRobotLab documentation on it. Go down to the service matrix, and I know it's up near the top here, AdafruitIna219, and it's basically got the connection I'm using. This one is not a genuine Adafruit board. It is a Chinese rip-off, but it looks almost identical. And the instructions in here appear to be, correct. They do work. I haven't actually looked at the Java doc to see what additional info's in there. And there's not a great deal. You can change the value of your shunt resistance, which is good. The default is 0.1 ohms, and I did measure that one, and it is at 0.1 ohms. So it does, you can change it to 1, and it just changes the maths that it uses to calculate the power and the current. So yeah, all pretty straightforward. But yeah, and it's all working. So that'll do for this video. If you like these videos, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It's a form of support that helps the channel a great deal and costs you absolutely nothing. If you'd like to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon account, and you can join my VIP patrons, Go Lucky and Lorenz Berger, and my builder patrons, El Morales 45 and White Wolf, in helping to support the channel. All my patrons do get the videos at least a week ahead of YouTube. If you've got any questions, don't forget to drop into the Discord, ask your questions there. I'll also have a link to the MyRobotLab Discord as well. And we'll see you in the next video.